Welcome back to part 2 of this episode, and we really hope that you guys enjoyed part 1 because we don't know yet. This is pre-recorded. So if you're seeing this on Wednesday, then that means that you guys really enjoyed it.
And you guys got the podcast to 250 likes.
250 comments, 200 comments. We're not sure on the goal yet, but something like that. But if you guys are seeing this next week, then that means
you guys suck.
Then you guys suck. No, I'm just kidding. Then that means that part 1, maybe you guys didn't really connect with it as much. But part 2, a lot of good information. And we're going to show you that now. So hope you guys enjoy.
I had one more question about like alcohol and do you feel like people smoke because of the fact that it's not like a psychedelic, but it'll still get you high, like to where you're just like on cloud 9 sometimes?
Yeah. Well, some people like it because it's like a similar effect like beer, you know, only without as much of a hangover. And some people like just having that altered state of mind. But it's at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen how destructive it can be if it's something that, just like depression, we're just living each day until the next bong hit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really hard to make it so that you can pull yourself up and say, you know what, I don't necessarily need that to go and have fun. So people can smoke. It's obvious. Before, when it was illegal, it felt like it was more adventurous and like people were much more rebellious for doing it. Now it's just everybody's doing it.
Yeah, literally.
The question that I wanted to ask was, like, how do you, as far as like in a relationship, how do you deal with your partner if they have anxiety and depression? Like, what's the best way to go about it?
Supporting them as much as humanly possible, recognizing that you have some impact on how their mood is. And it's not necessary for you to necessarily change how you're behaving to accommodate somebody, but being aware of it, being supportive, and promoting them getting help.
Now, how are you supposed to do that if, like what both of you guys said, they mask it?
If not, it's just like with if I'm in a session with somebody, I can only work with what's in front of me. You know, if somebody isn't presenting something as a problem, it's like, say you're their spouse or something. If they're masking it that well to the point where the person who spends every single day with them isn't noticing it, then they are doing a very good job of hiding it.
Wouldn't that also kind of fall back on you because you're not noticing it? And you should kind of know like your partner very good.
Absolutely. Sometimes there are times where people are giving every one of the cues, every one of like the hints that I'm not feeling good, and somebody else is just completely ignoring them. Like that, like it doesn't matter. And sometimes people, unless you tell like, hey, I'm suicidal, I'm about to do something really dumb.
Yeah.
You can have a spouse that won't even notice it.
Yeah.
When you were depressed, or were you in a relationship when you were depressed? Was it around that time? So did your boyfriend at the time, did he like notice, or like how did you go about it?
I feel like a lot of times it was kind of frustrating because it's like I'm acting this way, but it's like and they're there, so it feels like I'm taking it out on them, when in reality it's not them, and I don't want to be like this, but it's how I'm feeling right now. So then it made me push away even more because it's like I don't want to make you feel like it's your fault when like myself, I don't even know how to pinpoint what I'm feeling. But I feel like the best advice would be to, if you're with somebody that's dealing with this, also like taking it upon yourself to do research on it. You know, if you have a significant other that deals with depression and anxiety, you go and look it up. Hey, what are the signs, or how can I, also play your part in that sense to try to be as educated as you can. And like he said, you can only go so far with somebody that doesn't want, to reach out or like present exactly how they're feeling. But at the same time, I think one of the best things to do is just to kind of listen, or just to be there. I feel like a lot of times when I was going through it, I never really wanted an answer because I knew it, but it was more of, it was the way that I was feeling. So just even being there present, and just saying like, do you want advice on the situation or how you're feeling? Or do you want me to just sit and listen to you? Just being more, just kind of being there. There's only so much that you can do, especially when somebody's in that state of mind. It's like nothing that you can really say or do will like take them out of it completely, which sucks, and which is super hard. But I feel like you know, being educated, going the extra mile, and then just also being there, you know, and knowing that if they're treating you a type of way, I'm not saying to obviously just kind of sit back and take it, but also kind of understanding like, okay, this might be rooted from this. So it's like when you're ready, you know, to come back around, you know. But I feel like just kind of being there and just doing the best you can on your own to kind of figure it out. But with me, I did not handle that very well. And it wasn't until I went my separate ways to grow and figure myself out as a person to where now I can. Why are you laughing?
I'm not laughing.
Like, you know, once, you know, I started to learn myself and now I can explain it. Now I could say, hey, I'm really, because sometimes I would like want them to do something, but I'm not going to tell you to do something, you know? A lot of times like I would want it, but then I was like, okay, well, what is this person like? That can't be my only source of feeling better, you know? So it wasn't until I stepped out and I was like, okay, well, how can I, you know, not feel this way? Or just simply learn a better way to explain how I'm feeling. So it's like, if I'm sad, like, hey, I'm kind of sad right now, but that does take your walls coming down, which back then I would never do that. I would never like, even though like there's somebody that I loved so much, I could not let my walls down and say, hey, I'm sad right now and I need this and that. But now I can, because like I said, it took me being by myself to really figure it out.
Also, pay attention if you're with somebody and you've noticed that they're in a good mood usually and everything, but then all of a sudden, like over time, they start to get a little more angry. Everybody looks at depression and they think sadness and all just feeling miserable. Anger is one of the symptoms of depression. So if you've noticed the person around like that, you know, who's your partner or whatever, and they're starting to get a little more angry about stuff, that might be one of the signs of depression. Because a lot of times if we have no like recourse or we have nothing that we can do to fix the problem in that moment, then one of our natural reactions is to get pissed off about it.
Yeah.
And then
or
we
like
start
irritated. And I start taking out on people around me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And like you don't want to, but like you do, you know?
What about when like obviously like you ask like, hey, is everything okay? What about if they say no? Is it like a right time to keep pushing it, or should you be like, okay, I'm gonna give you your space?
If you ask them if they're okay and they say no,
or no, they say, yeah, I'm fine. I can
I'm
deal
fine.
it with myself, or like somewhere along the line.
There's a very thin line between being helpful and being irritating. Really, because if you're gonna like, no, I can see something's wrong. Tell me over and over again. Then the person gonna be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, literally.
Right now, the only thing I'm angry at is you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you notice that somebody's feeling off and you're like, hey, is everything okay? Usually the answer that you know something's wrong, we're like, yeah, I'm fine. When you hear that, you know something's up. I'm like, okay, well, if you want to talk, I'm here. And then gradually just let them know that the support is there when they're ready for it. Because sometimes people are in the middle of being angry and still processing out exactly how it's going to be. And they don't want to unload an unprocessed anger, anxious moment. They want to take some time to think about it. And then if you make it clear to them that you are a safe place to go to when they are ready, then they come to you. And that makes it a lot easier. If you can see something's wrong and you know something's wrong, you ask them, what's going on? And they say, oh, nothing, I'm fine. I was like, no, seriously, I can see something's wrong. Why don't you tell me what's going on? Right. I'm fine. No, seriously. At that point, you're going to be like, now you're my problem. And now instead of being a supportive person around them, you're being someone who's going in with good intentions, but you're actually making it harder for them to feel better.
Right. Yeah.
So just giving people the chance.
Like the ball's in like their court. Yeah. And I think also the point you made too is really good. It's how you react to like them saying no. Because at the same time, it is very frustrating sometimes. It's because you're trying so hard to talk to your person and it's frustrating. So then you start to take it personal. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, you have an attitude, then you know what I mean? It's so easy sometimes to snap back out of frustration. So I think most times it's like, no, I'm okay. Like, or it's fine. Be like, okay, well, I'm here when you're ready, like you said, rather than just being like, all right, well, fine, you don't want to talk about it, then don't. Yeah. You know, in that sense.
And remembering that you might not be what's bothering them. How many times are we ask them, is everything okay? It's because we're asking them because we don't want them to be mad at us.
Right.
So
like we think it's our fault.
Then, like if we are the one who's depressed and somebody asks us, are you doing okay? And we know that they may be like chances are they're worried about you being pissed at them. It's okay if you're upset to say something like, I'm having a rough day. It has nothing to do with you. And just let that person I just need to deal with this. Then that person immediately is like, thank you. It's nothing to do with me. Okay, anytime you want to talk, I'm right here.
Right.
So that's so true.
Yeah.
I think that's very true because I'm that type of person. where like sometimes I'm just like, it's not you, but like I'm good. Like just let me go.
Yeah.
Like I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
But if they're like, oh, why? Just tell me. Like, why don't you want to tell me? And
See,
I'm
I'm that type of person.
And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't want to tell you. Like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I just end up getting more frustrated.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
it's hard. Yeah. Because you feel like, in your sense, it's like, you like don't want, you know what I mean? Like you feel like, oh, like it's me. And then him, it's like, dude, it's not you. I just want to like take space. But like you love that person. So it's like, well, don't, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're coming, if you're trying to help somebody, the person who's asking, how are you doing, isn't doing it because they want to piss somebody off.
Right.
They're doing it because they care and they're trying to help. So they want to know exactly what's going on so they can take whatever step is necessary to help. Right. Sometimes the other person who's feeling upset doesn't know what they need. Mm-hmm. They just need time. They need to think about it for a little bit. And then after like however long it takes, they can come back to the friend or whoever it is that's there with them and say, you know what, this is what I need. And you're giving them the permission to think and actually process this stuff instead of demanding, tell me what's wrong so I can solve the problem. Because at that point, who is the person asking the question doing that for? Is it for the person that they're asking how you doing? Or is it for them to feel like they actually did something? Because if we're paying attention to their needs, we're going to be able to recognize that maybe I'm asking this question too much and I just need to give them space.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Deep.
How do you do it?
What?
Like, how do you deal with any of that? I'm kind of interested in your response because I know how Logan is. He's a persistent. Like he's the one where I'm like, I'm fine, Log. Like it's cool.
And it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
It's a sign of love.
No, it is. It is. And it's like, it's hard to be like, dude, like trust, like it's fine. Cause you know, like they just want to help or do whatever, but you're just kind of like, oh my God.
It's cause I know that something that like, I know that like talking about things is always helpful. And I feel like, just like talk to me about it. It's not necessarily, I always feel like they're mad at me or they're upset with me. It's more of like, I'm here for you and like, talk to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of more.
That's how I feel like when I'm on that side. But when I'm getting asked, what's wrong? Are you okay? You good? Something wrong? Tell me. I'm just like, nah, just give me some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty similar to Danny actually in like those regards.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll just lay down and like think about the situation or whatever it is and just be like, all right, I'll talk to myself about it, think about it, and then I'll say what's wrong.
Yeah. It's okay to allow yourself and ask for people to give you the time to think about shit.
Yeah. I like to analyze a lot.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And, as long as you're not spiraling and spending like days dwelling on the thing and not responding to people around you, then, that's where other people around you start getting concerned.
Right.
And then rightfully so. That means that they care. But also, in those moments, we want to be as helpful as possible, but sometimes the helpful thing is just giving space.
Right.
Is there like a difference or is there like some type of correlation between stress and anxiety? Like, how do you know the difference?
Stress is like whatever's pressuring you in that moment, and people can succumb to stress. Both of them are basically the same, kinda, sorta. But stress is stuff that just happens in the moment and we can find ways to work through it. Anxiety is like systemic. It's something that's built within you. And it's like, stress can cause anxiety, but people who aren't already anxious or can manage stress really well aren't going to get anxiety.
Right. Yeah, so
true. Do you have anything?
Pretty much answered everything.
Like, is there such thing as like financial anxiety in a relationship?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. If you only knew how many divorces are caused by financial stress. Yeah. Holy Moses.
I heard that's like the number one cause for divorces. Financial problems.
Yeah.
So that's true.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of times you have people who are in relationships with somebody else and they're not talking about it. And then like all hell breaks loose and both of them end up in some kind of financial problem. And when you're in a couple, the problem is when somebody's being financially dishonest. If both people are on the same page, they're not going to argue about stuff. But if one person is in there saying, oh yeah, we got plenty of money or whatever, but it turns out that they're borrowing all the money from someone else, or we got, we're doing financially fine, but the guy just took out a second mortgage on the house and isn't telling all of those details to whoever they're with, that's where stress comes in, where it's like, you weren't being honest with me about our money,
What about sharing like bank accounts? Do you think that's better, or is that like worse?
It depends on the couple. Some people thrive on that, and it makes it so that they are on the same page because they can both see the numbers, you know. And a lot of anxiety gets caused by lack of clarity. A lot of times when we don't know what's going on, that'll trigger anxiety until we know what's up, and then we're like, oh, okay, cool, everything's fine. If you have a shared bank account, you have clarity. It's right there, and you can see exactly what's going on. The problem is that some people can't manage the shared bank account.
In what way?
One person financially taking more money, or just not communicating why the money is being spent the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's where really financial issues can cause stress, whether you're in a relationship or not. Yeah. I mean, you could be single and be stressed because money is not coming in. Everybody was like, every OnlyFans page that was opened up during the pandemic was done specifically because of that financial stress.
Yeah.
So do you believe the saying is real money is the root of evil?
It causes people to do bad things. The root of evil isn't money, because if money didn't exist, people would still have something to be evil about.
Right. I think it's like the desire of money that like makes people do different things.
Well, and also it's the putting other people's lives behind or below your need for money. So you almost disconnect with humanity at that moment, and you just become somebody driven by only money. Yeah. Some people that works for, other people not. I don't want to judge one way or the other. Some people have their motivations.
Yeah.
So Sam, would you say that like money is like really important in a relationship?
In a relationship? Like in what way?
Like, I'll just go like how I think. I feel like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like if you're not financially stable, I think it's just gonna fail like completely. Yeah. But like sometimes I'll ask people like what's your perspective on money? Like, how do you look at it? And they're like, as long as I'm happy with my significant other, then everything's okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely, it could be a generalized thing. I mean, me personally, I don't find I don't find my identity in the amount of money I make. Me personally, I believe that like success isn't money, and I feel like me personally, I just spending that quality time. And I know as a man, you want to provide, and there's so much expectation on that. But I think that most times, with like culture and everything, I feel like men want to supply like the house and do all these things, but sometimes like as a woman, like you just want them. You don't really want more than that. Like, I mean, money's great. I mean, everyone loves it, but I feel like most times, like, you can be so caught up in trying to provide the things that they're not necessarily looking for in that sense. I feel like I would rather have like a connection and like dates, like they don't have to be expensive, like quality time. And I feel like sometimes that can be so easily missed out on because of where your motives, are, in a sense of, well, I'm working to get us a house, but she's like, well, I just want to spend time with you, so it's like, is it for the other person that you're with, or is it mostly to say that like I'm a provider and I'm the man of the house? Because there's different ways to provide in a relationship that is not necessarily around money,
Yeah. So, okay. So let's say a man with money comes to you, right? Mm-hmm. And he buys you all these gifts in the first couple years that you guys are together, and you go broke. Do you feel like when you get used to that lifestyle, it needs to keep coming back though?
Like I said, I mean, for me personally, I feel like if I'm with that person, they'll kind of find out kind of quick that I'm not very materialistic. I feel like things are nice to have, but I don't think that they're necessary in that sense. And I feel like the only way that I would kind of feel different about it was as if the money came before me, or like relationship. Like if your desire to get money is taking away from me and like our quality time together, I feel like that's when I would be kind of like, oh. But I don't really set an expectation of like, you need to provide all these things for me, because I provide in that sense for myself. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. That's just me though. Like, I feel like I like if I lack something, it's just in me to want to get it myself, not to ask somebody to. I know that a lot of times, like it's very different. Different people, we expect different things. We want our needs to be met in different ways. But me personally, yeah, I feel like it's really, you know.
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of broke people in great relationships.
Really?
So it's financial stability and successful relationships. Having money and not having to worry about finances makes a big difference. But if you have two people that are compatible, they're not going to give a shit about where them. They just want to be able to be together and survive and be okay, and just have enough to survive. And they don't mind going paycheck to paycheck and everything like that because they're happy with each other. But that's also like, for every one of those, I'll see like 5-6 people who like financially, that's an issue. Where how are we going to be able to pay for the kids' school, clothes, all of this extra stuff? And they're just not able to make money, and or one person is a little more irresponsible with the money. I've worked with guys that are like, I got to get the next big thing, and the wife is like, you need to buy the diapers, and that's like, if people are on the same page financially, it doesn't matter if they're rich or broke, they're going to be okay. If people are not like communicating exactly what's going on financially, then that's just going to leave room for financial dishonesty with each other, and make it so that people, well, if you're going to be dishonest with me about our finances, what else are you dishonest about? And it just opens the door for more problems. But regardless if you have a joint account or separate accounts, communicating about it is huge. It's necessary just so that you can, hey, I want to be able to go and take a trip with us to Japan later on or whatever. Okay, well, do we have the money to make it? And if you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're sacrificing the future of another person that's bonded to you. Like, we are married, we have we are legally bound together, and we may have a kid. And now I'm making decisions that are affecting their lives, and I'm not taking into account their happiness when I'm making those decisions. That's financial dishonesty.
So going off of that, do you feel like when you first meet somebody, you shouldn't come off as like, oh, I got every first date, or I got to pay for everything?
It's a matter of just how each one of them are. If you have a ton of money and you don't care, then that's fine. Go ahead and spend whatever you want, buy whatever lunch or dinner that you want. Some of the best dating situations that I've had were ones where like, okay, I got dinner this time, but next time you got it. And they're like, yeah, totally, we're on the same page. Like, that's what I mean, being on the same page.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like that's pretty cool to like bring up, joke about some shit. But there's always
like, be for real?
There's some type of truth. Like,
and,
check comes out, like, you got this one, right?
Yeah,
like just fuck around.
And no, you'll have the discussion. No, I got this one. Okay, I got this one, but next one you got. That's how you get a second date.
Yeah.
So you said that like money doesn't really matter to you with like a relationship, right?
Okay. Yeah.
What do you mean, okay?
No, I know.
Okay.
Sorry. Like, okay, keep talking.
So, are you fine with the guy not paying on the first date?
Well, I feel.
See, you got her.
All right, hold on. So, obviously, I would like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not the situation, I will. If it's like, oh, you're paying for it, but like, if he asks me out and then expects me to pay for it, like. That's a different story.
Yeah.
What about like a split check?
Okay, a split. Okay, if you're asking me like, hey, if he says like, hey, I want to take you out on a date, I would assume naturally, oh, he wants to take me out. Or if he says, hey, or like, I don't know. I think it's just also the vibe too, like. Yeah. But I feel like most times, if he told me like, hey, can we go halves on this? Sure. But in my head,
that wouldn't change your thinking.
No, it would, but it would change like the way that I'm viewing the circumstance of it. But like, as a person, I don't know what they're going through financially. Like, what if they just wanted to like go out with me and like hang out? I'm not gonna judge them. You know what I mean? It's just me personally. Okay, me personally. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm not gonna sit here and judge your character because I don't know what's in your account. And I think that at the same time, I can very easily read somebody's. You can see intention wise. So it's like, if it's like a, hey, like, obviously I would love for that person because you asked me out, but I'm not sitting here like, oh, you're broke as shit for making me pay half. It's just like,
tell them your story.
I don't know.
What was my story?
With the drive-thru at McDonald's.
Oh my god.
And you said it altered the way you kind of looked at her. It was just, it changed the vibe a little bit.
Yeah, it was just some girl that like I was hanging out with, and we went to McDonald's and we went through the drive-thru. We were just hanging out. And she's like, you hungry? And I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. She's like, all right, let's go to McDonald's. I was like, all right, cool. So we go to McDonald's. She goes, "What do you want?" Oh, I tell her, "McChicken, a Big Mac, blah blah blah."
Oh, you got like, both.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
I didn't know these details. Okay, go ahead.
And then no. She got a Big Mac. I got a McChicken. My bad.
Okay. That was $1 back then.
Yeah, it was $1. It was $1 back then. It wasn't no 2 for $3.50.
Yeah.
So we go. It totally ends up coming out to be like $6-7, and I was like, okay, cool. And I offered to pay. She said, no, it's fine. I got it. She gets it. We get in the car. We park to eat. She goes, hey, my Venmo is blah, 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 blah. You could send me the money for the McChicken.
Okay.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, bro, like, I'll go outside and I'll get this change for you for your fucking McChicken. Like, what?
Yeah.
And just from that, it was just kind of like,
because you offered to pay, so it was
right. I feel like she should have just let you pay.
Yeah,
she just
exactly.
Reversed it, and then like she paid, but then technically she asked you to pay.
Yeah. Now you gotta open the app.
Like did she just want the rewards, like the 2% cash back or some shit? Like
for like $1.50.
Exactly. like I could understand if it was like BJ's or something, but for like a fucking $1.10.
See, I feel like the way that situation unfolded would ick me out. The situation. You know, and like how, like, even tying it back to the question, like, of what you guys were saying, like, people have different standards and what they're looking for in relationships. So not to say one's bad, but I feel like that situation, how it happened, is an ick. Yeah, because she could have just said, yeah, you got it, you know? Or if she asked you, like, hey, are you hungry? Me personally, I feel like I would always wait for the guy to bring it up, like, oh, do you want to go get food? Because, like, if I didn't have money to pay, if I didn't have money to pay for it, then I'm not gonna ask you if you want to get food. You know? In that sense?
Okay, so then how do you feel about using a guy to, for food?
What?
Like you guys haven't heard of that? Where like girls, like they'll literally just go on dates with guys just to get a free meal.
Yeah, I have friends like that.
Okay, but how do you feel about that? Talk your shit on them. Come on.
Oh no,
burn them out.
No, I don't.
Who is it?
No, Mia. No, I'm just kidding. No. I'm just kidding. She's gonna beat my ass later. No, I don't know. I mean, me personally, I can't, like, I think I'm just so like I can't, if I'm gonna eat, like, I don't need like somebody to take me to get food. I'm gonna go get food. You know, like, it just doesn't, I mean, if I don't it's just because I personally, I no.
It sounds like it's not so much the food, it's the time spent with the person.
Yes.
Because it's like, you know, I can understand what you're saying about it being weird. It's like, I could have paid for that and no problem and everything, but the thing that made it awkward was you saying, okay, can you Venmo me $1.10? I mean, like, that's the situation where it's awkward. Like, you know, that's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
That one right by itself is enough. Because it's, with relationships, you have to go by feel. And if you notice some of those little tiny things that are just off, then chances are it's a good idea to listen to it.
Yeah, so like, let's say she has a fucking Honda Accord, but she wants a Mercedes, but they can't afford that. How often does that lead to a divorce?
It depends. Really, sometimes it does. If the partner who wants a Mercedes finds somebody willing to give the Mercedes, and if that need for the Mercedes outweighs the relationship that she currently has, she's gonna bounce.
How often does like finances lead to somebody cheating?
A lot.
Fuck.
See, that's why
I got no bread.
That's why I'm like so not.
And that's the thing. You don't need money to have a loyal partner. I've seen plenty of broke people with good relationships.
Yeah.
See, I would just rather not deal with any of that shit.
Yeah.
I'd rather get as much money as I can. That's
but then
stuck
that's like,
in my head.
But then that's that's like saying that a girl only wants you because you have money.
Sometimes.
Not that. I'm not. This is how I think. I think I want it for myself because I want to have like a lot of like financial freedom. I just want a lot of free time so I can go do the stuff like I really want to do.
Right.
And then I've also seen how money could fuck a lot of things up. Mm-hmm. Like, just, you know, the lack of it, you start fighting way more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like you knowing that is so good because now you're aware of where other people go wrong. Because it's like I can put you in the same situation as somebody else, and it doesn't mean it's going to have the same outcome, you know? So I think it just...
I took the situation as like, you need to get more money.
Yeah. Well, and we can't understate the importance of financial stability. Some people, in order to like want to have a family with someone else, they want to know that financially the bases are going to be covered, so they're not going to have to stress out about that kind of thing. So it's okay to an extent, but you just don't want to be all about money and disconnect any part of you that's human.
Right. So how do you give that balance then?
It's really hard. It's really hard.
You can't.
I mean, people can do it. It just, they have to be willing to know when to take a break. Some people are so focused on making money that they forget that they need to water the plants. And not just like literally the plants. I mean, like literally tend to the needs of the people around them. Right. So they're so focused on their goal of making a boatload of money that they forget birthdays. They forget, taking care of just the little things that make it so, like the little things you need to do to be successful in a relationship. That stuff gets blown away because they're so focused on, I need to make this money.
Is that unattractive to you? Like a guy that's kind of like too focused on making money?
I feel like it really, I don't know, in a sense of, I'm not judging that person, but I don't think it's a great fit for me and what I'm looking for in that sense. I don't like, if he wants to be successful and he has goals and he has dreams set, go for it. If you can make time for me, that's great. But I'm not going to sit here and demand that from you when you can't give it to me. Instead, it's like, you're not what I'm looking for in this moment. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just not for me,
Damn.
You have any more on that, or like, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
Just like the whole situation.
I just feel like it's a lot easier for girls to not care about money than for guys. Because, I feel like it's kind of like in like a guy's, like, I don't know, fucking history or whatever bullshit. Manhood. Yeah, to want to, like what you said, to like take care, provide for the family, for the girl. And then also too, it's also kind of like a competitive nature within us. To like, you see these fucking guys and you're like, fuck, I want to get my money up. They're over here driving Lambos and shit. Like, I need to get my shit up too. And then also too, as long as like girls, like you always see like the bad bitches and they're with like these fucking rich ass dudes. And you're like, fuck, man, that could be me if I had $1 million. And so I feel like for that, like it just puts so much more pressure on you. And then also too, like you say that, money doesn't really matter a whole lot to you as far as like finding a guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm like willing to bet that the majority of girls think different.
Well, probably. Like, my main thing is, I'm not like saying, don't have these plans for yourself and, don't work all the time. Like, if that's what you want to do it. But like we were saying, like the balance part of it, like in my like if it's in conversation and it's like, these are my dreams, like this is my goal, like this is what I want to do. Okay, I'm doing it with you. You know what I mean? Like, keep me in the plan too, though. Because a lot of times we kind of like that. I agree with you also saying that there is that pressure because it's like the man of the house. You want to supply. And I'm not saying that to only focus your whole attention on your girl and then screw everything else. It's like, no, do that. But like, just keep me in the yeah, like most, like I think majority of the people, like of the girls, like we just want to be by your side while you're doing that. Like, don't just block me out because you're so money hungry that now I'm just out the equation. It's like when you're together, like let's do it together. Like, you want to make bread? Okay, well, so do I. I'm not saying that I'm so fine with just sitting in the same position and not really caring, you know what I mean? Bills pay themselves, however. But what I am saying is that keep me in the loop, you know what I mean? Like, don't just block me out because you're so distracted, So it's like the balance part of it, I'd say.
And nowadays, more and more couples need to have both people working to survive. Yeah. So, the idea of just the man being a provider is becoming obsolete. In order to, like, we live in California. In order to live in California, chances are if you're living with somebody and married, you need both of you working full time to make that money, to be able to keep that house and to be able to have a family and all of that stuff. So times are changing, and a lot more people are you're starting to see more women that are much more career oriented, and it's not a matter of like, oh, we need to, I need to be able to provide for someone else. Somebody else is already providing for themselves. And it's a matter of, now we have two people making money. We can find ways to make our happiness happen. And in those cases, having a joint account might be problematic because one person's making maybe more money than the other. and the other person's like starting to get a little bit worried and jealous about that. And then at that point, it's okay to have individual bank accounts because you're making that money individually.
Yeah.
You're allowed, and it makes it so that everybody, it's not like, oh, this is my money and I earned it. It's like, no, we can all pitch in and do all the fun stuff, but we're just keeping the money that we have separate so that we can ultimately throw it at whatever we want.
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh no, go for it.
I was gonna say, is it more common for like marriages to fail because the guy was too focused on his job and making money, or is it more common that the marriage failed because of money issues, as far as they fought over paying bills and stuff because they weren't making enough money?
I'd say the second one, where the money just wasn't happening, versus like, picture if money's coming in and the dad's or the guy or whoever's the money maker, the breadwinner at that moment, is just focused on work. If the other partner is okay with that, then there's no problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, we got bills paid for. Yeah, I'd like to spend more time, but maybe their love language isn't quality time. Maybe they want to be able to go and buy stuff. That's how they receive love or whatever. So they're in a great relationship.
Yeah.
But it's usually the ones where they are not on the same financial page. They're struggling financially. And one person tends to want to blame the other person for it, where that's just not balanced.
Right.
All right, Sam, I got a question for you then.
Ooh.
If let's just say like your relationship is great with this guy, you know, he's making his money, and let's just say he's making a lot of it. You guys do not have to worry about bills and everything is just great. You guys get married and he asked you to sign a prenup.
What does that mean?
Prenuptial agreement.
That's basically like, if you guys get a divorce, you can't take anything that he had. He dips off with everything.
Whatever you come into the relationship with, if you make your own money, you better keep the receipts. Like that, at that point, it's like whatever money you came into the relationship with, that's what you have. And any money that's built together usually will get split, or depending after that.
Because you know how usually, like, if somebody's like rich as fuck and then they get married and then they get divorced, the wife will take like half of it.
Oh.
That happens to a lot of
basically-
celebrities.
Yeah, a prenup basically makes sure that doesn't happen. So let's say the guy was rich as fuck, marries a broke girl, they break up,
Then
he
you're
still
broke.
stays rich, she still stays broke.
Okay. I mean, did we talk about this before we got married? Or is it after we got married?
No, it's before. It's prenuptial. It's before they get married. They make that agreement.
right before.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing where I would be kind of on the page of it like not being okay, I think, is if there's going to be kids in the future involved. Because I feel like that's now me having to look out for somebody other than myself. So I feel like if it was just me and we didn't have kids in the picture, I mean, then I've came into it doing my thing. I could leave doing my thing as well. Look, you always have this look on your face.
Fuck, I'm not even doing anything, dude.
But yeah, if there's kids involved, I feel like me, like as a mother, like, and plus like those are your kids too. So it's like, I would think that you wouldn't just like, if it's on weird, like if it's bad terms between us, whatever, you know, if we divorce, but those are your kids still. So it's like, you should want to not do that because to provide for your kids as well in that sense. I know there's other ways to go around it, but yeah, I feel like it would more be a problem if we had kids because I would probably need it.
Yeah. And the big issue that tends to come up with a lot of the prenups is the lack of trust. Yeah. What, you don't think we're going to work?
Right.
Yeah, so does that fuck it up?
So it's like literally sitting there saying, you know, break glass in case of fire, you know,
right.
like
it's like preparing for it.
Yeah.
If it, you know, like
it's like sitting there saying, in case we have a divorce. And it's like, what, you think we're not going to last? You know, like it sprinkles in that little layer of doubt for a lot of relationships. That's why there's so many people who are against it. But also, like, there's a lot of people who are just looking for the money and like, okay, I'm going to marry you and we're okay. And then I'm out. Or say it's somebody who's an older person that has all the money and they marry someone younger. And then the person passes away. They're like, I'm here. I got the money. This is good.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's why some people are okay. Usually the ones that are okay with prenups are the ones where both of them have a boatload of money going in. Like I would love to see the prenup between Kanye and Kim.
Ooh.
Ain't no prenup there.
I know.
Or
because both of them have a boatload of money that it's a matter of like, you know, they can keep their assets separate and none of them are going to struggle.
Yeah.
The ones where the person who ends up getting half of the money usually doesn't have any other job or any other money making capability. So like their whole existence was being supportive to the person who was making the money. And at that point, it's like, okay, you deserve to have something. But and if there's no prenup, then they can get half. Like the old host of the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, was like legendary for that. His wife got like $70 million out of him.
Gosh, damn.
And that was back in the 80s where like $1 million was like everything.
$1 million was like 10 million.
Yeah.
So if you ask for a prenup and they get angry about it, is that kind of like a red flag as to maybe their true intentions?
Some people get mad about just the prenup at all.
Yeah, I feel like being asked about their prenup, I would be like, you're a red flag.
Yeah, it is
like,
a little bit.
Why are you preparing to leave me if it's forever?
And
so
that's
then,
the thing. If both people have money, then both of them are going to be like, yeah, no, this is just a formality. We got to do this, like, just because, just in case. But I've seen, relationships where they were okay, but then one person says, hey, do you mind if we signed a prenup? And it was like, what, you don't trust me?
And
you don't think we're going to work?
Just fucks up the whole relationship.
Well, yeah, it sprinkles that layer of doubt. Like, you don't have full 100% faith that it's going to work.
And does that layer of doubt stay throughout the whole entire relationship?
It can. Depends.
Yeah,
it depends.
person.
If somebody's very reassuring and that they are very compatible, then you don't have to worry about that stuff. They're a good married couple. But if, like, say there's like one small minute problem that comes up, then immediately both parties are going to be like, I need to protect my assets. Yeah. I got to make sure that my money's safe because I don't know if this is going to be a problem that leads to something bigger.
Yeah. Damn. And plus, because I feel like things also can develop during a marriage as well. Like certain things could possibly come across that weren't there in the first place. Like, I don't know, maybe just I could see why it's a thing. Yeah, just because as things progress and stuff, I feel like there might be certain situations where, people become like abusive or something, or like, other bigger problems that can really like break people up, Yeah. So it's like a safety net.
Yeah, I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm pretty sure Logic, the rapper, he did that to his wife.
Halsey?
Was it?
No. Who dated Halsey?
No, it wasn't Halsey.
I'm not sure.
MGK or some shit? No, he did Megan Fox.
I don't know, but it was his ex-wife, and I think they were together for a really long time. I want to say like high school sweethearts and everything. They got married, I think, for maybe a year or two.
Nah, they were married for a while. They had kids and everything, yeah.
And they ended up getting a divorce, and they had signed a prenup, and she had to move back with her mom. And he's Logic, so he's fine.
The reason why they got a divorce was because he wanted to be with younger bitches.
That's so sad.
Yeah, which like that's what makes me feel like fuck. That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I mean, damn.
Yeah,
it's reality.
And
yeah,
that's the thing. If they have kids, then he's probably taking steps to financially protect the kids. Yeah. But he's not footing the bill for the wife anymore. The ex.
Yeah, sucks. And they didn't have kids. I'm pretty sure.
Jeez, right? If they didn't have kids, then that sucks.
To be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they had kids.
Yeah.
I just think it's crazy to like not care about like that other person anymore. Like,
yeah,
I kind of that. Yeah. Just like, all right, well, fuck off.
Especially if it's like a good breakup.
Yeah,
and it's not like if they cheat on you. What about you? Would you, let's say you had fucking $20 million in the bank account, and your wife she works fucking teacher at a high school or some shit.
Take it back.
Are you gonna?
I mean,
no,
I don't know.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying like you have this much money, and then the other person works like they're not making $20 million a year.
I think if I had a bunch of assets and stuff where like I put my time into and my other money to invest in myself and bring money home to like my kids and my family, I would maybe sign it. But then again, I feel like I'm looking for someone that's independent on their own already, where they come in and we kind of work together. So I'm not really like looking towards that. Like I personally like a girl that can go and get it on her own and kind of just do shit without me being there, or get shit done and we could do it together.
Yeah. So you're making 20 million, she's making 100,000. So obviously you're making a lot more, but she's still making enough to provide for herself. Are you still going to ask her for that prenup, or are you going to be like, nah, we're chilling?
Honestly, I think it just depends on the situation, the moment of time. Like, I don't know.
Okay, I don't think I would.
You wouldn't ask?
I don't think
if she's not like fucking, like if she's doing her own shit and she's not really like bugging me while I'm doing my thing, then
oh yeah, you just got fucked.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
I think I would ask for a prenup.
Dude, it's that I feel like what you were saying, like I feel like that does stick in the back of the head. Like if I got with the girl and she was really wealthy too.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, "Hey, I want you to sign this." I'm like, "Damn."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like we might be donezo in a couple of years or some shit.
Well, because if that's where that person's mind's going, I could see how it'll throw it off.
Yeah.
You don't think it's just kind of more of like a safety net, like, you know, just to be safe?
It is, but it's also, I mean, it's hedging your financial bets so that you don't have to lose half of your money to somebody else at the end of the day. But it's also, it causes problems. It like you could see, like if people have no money and then they go into a relationship and then they build that money together, then they deserve to split that money evenly.
Of course.
But if it's some person like, I have a ton of money and you're not working at all and we're making it work until it doesn't work anymore and then we divorce, there should be some financial consideration be made for the other person, but a prenuptial agreement will make it so that everything is cut down the middle. Like or it's or not cut down the middle, but everything is well defined legally. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
And makes it a little bit easier for whoever has the money.
Yeah.
But you could see the problems that come with it. And
of course.
It makes it so that even marriages, like, it becomes transactional. It becomes a business deal. And this is and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know, like if you look at relationships with people that in a transactional sense, from like, you know, well, what did you do for me so that I can do this for you? You're always going to be saying, you're going to become that kind of person that's going to be like, well, I did this for you last week. What are you going to do for me? And that's just like that's just tacky as fuck. So in relationships, if you're going to, good solid relationships don't view it transactionally, because good solid relationships are very rarely 50-50. They're always unbalanced. Sometimes it's 20-80. Sometimes it's 80-20 the other way. And the good couples understand that and see how things are going and know when to help more, add more emotional support or whatever support is necessary, and knowing that if times get tough for them, the other person's going to give them that same support back. So if we're looking at it from a transactional perspective, then it's going to, like, a relationship isn't going to necessarily thrive if it's being done, well, I did this for you, what are you doing for me?
Yeah.
So wait, you said that the good relationships aren't the ones that are 50-50?
Good relationships, there are very rare times in any relationship where things are 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'm having a shit day and I need someone emotionally just to give me that extra boost. Sometimes they're having a shit day and I'm going to be like, all right, let's go do something fun. I'm going to pick them up. It's very rarely everybody on the same level. Sometimes somebody within the relationship needs that extra support and it's constantly going back and forth. It shifts.
But in the long run, doesn't it make that 50-50? And that's what makes it work.
Yeah, ultimately it balances out. But there's very rarely a time in a relationship where we can say it's 50-50. It's always going to be unbalanced, but it's a constant shifting of that balance. And that's what a good relationship is, knowing how to account for somebody when they're not feeling their best, whenever they're feeling weak, or if something's wrong and, you know, they need that extra support. Those good relationships, that person's right there, you know, and not making it a problem that they're struggling.
Yeah.
You know, people struggle.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed from the last time I was here, some of the comments on the videos, everybody, there was an answer I gave to a question where everybody, I was like saying, it was a question where, can cheaters have a better relationship after the cheating? And everybody on the comments was like, oh, if they cheat, I'm going to be out, I'm leaving, and everything like that. How many couples do you know that went through cheating and they're still together? How many people go into a relationship thinking to themselves, you know what, I can't wait for this guy to cheat on me so that I can take them back? Nobody. Yeah. Everybody goes in. If they're single and standing on the outside looking in, everybody is sitting there saying, oh, if they cheat on me, I'm done. Yeah. If that was the case, if everybody stuck to that, then there wouldn't be people staying with cheaters. But there's a lot of people that stuck with cheaters because once, like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the face. Nice. And everybody has the game plan. If they cheat on me, I'm out. But then they get punched in the face with it, and then they realize I have actual emotions here. I have actual feelings, and I don't want to let that person go.
Yeah. For real.
So they're like, everybody goes into the relationship thinking to myself, oh, they're going to cheat, I'm out. But then the relationship actually hits, and that gets more complicated.
No, that's so true. I was like that too. Like I swore, it's like, oh, I carry myself with, like I would never let myself be disrespected. That happened to me, and I was so in denial. Like I just wanted to act like you never just did that to me.
Yeah.
Like, and since it's just you're comfortable, so it's like, damn, like you really did me like that. That just means that whoever else, since it's so tunnel vision at that time, like does everybody just do this then?
Yeah.
So that's so much harder, dude.
Did that stick with you?
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing?
Yeah.
So would you consider like if a couple, one of them gets caught cheating, is that relationship done at that point?
I feel like there's just like, I mean, I didn't go back. I mean, I there was a moment where I was just like, I was in denial, and I was kind of like in shock at that point, because it's like, how does that, like, what? And I think that it's not only just that, it just did a lot of like, it just caused a lot more hurt in different areas of my life, because it's like trust wasn't just now with that one person. Now I'm just looking at how I trust everybody. Because if that one person that had full access to me could just do that to me without, and then it's like, how am I ever going to trust somebody that is like a friend, or like, even having relationships in general is screwed up. Like after that, I treated everybody, not that I wanted to, it's just kind of like I became that exact monster that I accused him of doing, because I was just so hurt. And therefore it's like, you just like, I started to take it out on other people. And it wasn't until like I started to realize that's where I became accountable. And it was like, you can't do that, like, cause it happened to you. Like, it's not okay to go and like do that to other people, which was why I like stepped back completely for a minute and just took that, and I had to, deal with it like face to face. But like after that, it's like, how do you look at somebody and like trust that they're not going to do that again?
That's fucking hard.
Yeah, it's hard. And like, no matter what, like, okay, you're past the fact that it happened, but when other situations happen and then they bring it up or say like, oh, well, I just don't trust you anymore. Then it's, well, why can't you just get over it? You already said you're over it. Like, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's like, now you no longer have a place to be mad because we already talked about it and you already said you're over it. Like, no, So I just think that you can make it work, but it's miserable in the end of the day, because at night you're just laying there like, damn, I have no clue if I'm getting cheated on again. Like it's just, it sticks, dude.
Fuck that, man. That's crazy.
For real.
Yeah. No, I work with clients that are exactly in that, and they're like, took them years to get to the point where they were actually sexually comfortable with their partner again. And then because they had gone so many years without having any sexual consistency, the partner who did the cheating now doesn't trust that the sexual consistency that's building is real.
Right.
So
it's like, she doesn't trust me anyways.
Yeah. And so it makes it so that more problems can come up. And I've seen relationships work after cheating, and some of them find ways to improve. But at the end of the day, it just creates that sense of doubt in the person that you're supposed to have that kind of
like everything
honest, trusting relationship with. And that's why I'll always tell people, open relationships, especially ones like BDSM relationships, are the ones that have the best communication skills. They're the ones that stay together. And the reason why is because the survival of their relationship depends on them being able to communicate everything. So it makes a huge difference. Cheating is only cheating when people are lying about it.
That's true.
No, I'm laughing at that because it's like, oh, like I didn't cheat on you. I'm telling you, I fucked the girl.
Well, yeah, no,
it's not cheating.
At that point,
it's not.
If it's within the boundaries of the relationship, then it's not cheating. If like this is how our relationship is defined, everybody can do whatever as long as we're communicating, then that's not cheating. But if it's something that falls outside of the boundaries and you're making up lies to cover it up, then that's destructive. That's not respecting the other person.
Yeah.
Because you have to, if you're in a relationship, you have to be like willing to give bad news and know that their reaction isn't going to be one where they trash the relationship.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people will hold on to like bad information, and they won't tell their partner something that's really important but really bad, because they're so afraid that person's reaction is going to be one where they just leave. And
that's so true.
That's where people, it's like, if you guys just communicate from the beginning and make sure you're on the same page and consistently not be afraid to update the boundaries, because relationships change. And you can find, as long as you guys are communicating and on the same page, then you have the best chance of being successful.
I feel like also, if you're going to do something that's dishonest, like at least like prepare yourself to like own up to it, I feel like if you're in that moment going to do something, then like you better have that same energy to go and tell the person that you're with, because like you said, like just not bringing it up is just like,
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh yeah.
We're about like 2 hours in, so we can end it on this last one if you guys are down, or if you guys have more questions. But so you've dealt with like cheating in like people that are married with kids.
Oh yeah.
Would you say that it's like a healthy thing for when that goes down for them to tell the kids why the divorce happened or why the split happened?
Depends on how old the kids are.
We actually just had an argument on one of our last podcasts.
Yeah.
Not an argument, but we had a conversation.
It depends. How'd it go? What happened?
Well, me and him think that you shouldn't tell the kids because that would like hurt them or make them look at the cheater as why this family doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And make them have like hatred towards one parent.
Potentially, yes. Yeah. And that is a problem where if we know one person did the cheating, then a lot of the resentment from the kids growing up will be aimed at that one parent. It depends on how old they are. If they're young kids, then don't mention it so that everybody can still have that same connection.
So they could have their innocence still.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to make it so that the kids become more focused on, like, a divorce is tough enough, you know? Having to assign blame makes it so that it's almost like one parent is trying to get the kids to side with them over the other one. And that's destructive. You don't want that to happen. If the kids are older, say if they're adults or whatever, you can tell them the truth and then let them be the ones to make the relationship work with the parent because they've already established a long, caring relationship with them. So you guys can find the way to communicate through that. But if it's for young kids, yeah, no, they don't need to know all the dirty details because at the end, if you're giving those kind of details, it makes it so like the clinical term is triangulating. You're making it so that it's 2 against 1. So me and the kids versus the mom, or the mom and the kids versus me.
Do you think high school kids should know around that age or older? Because I think it should be older.
It should be older, but depends on how the high school kids are. If the kid sees a lot of fighting and arguing, then it's important to communicate like, okay, like none of us are happy here and we're trying to find a way out of it and trying to make it so that all of us find a way to be happy. Yeah. And teenagers typically can understand that, but it's also like if one person is just straight up cheating and that's where the relationship ends, then teenagers going to be having a lot of resentment if they know why it broke up, especially if there wasn't any known problems. Say if they like everything was masked really well and there weren't any issues and the kid didn't know something was going on and then all of a sudden cheating happens and they leave. They're going to be really pissed off about that. But if things weren't stable to begin with and they see that happiness is there when they're not together, then 2 parents being away from each other becomes a good thing. Yeah. And they look at each like, okay, cool. You guys are encouraging each other's happiness. You guys aren't fighting with each other and forcing a bad relationship to stay together.
Yeah.
And it makes it so that a lot of times those kids have more of a sense of, I'm not going to settle my happiness because of somebody else.
Yeah.
So does it usually do more harm if the parents stay together for the kids?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. Oh,
why?
Yeah. I mean, in the short term, like say if they're young kids, then it's good because you have that same connection. But if you are staying together specifically for the kids are going to see all of it. They're going to absorb that negative energy and they are going to be resentful of both parents when they grow up, when they become adults, because neither parent gave them a model of what happiness looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Like both of them, the parents gave the kids a model of what anger, frustration, sadness, all of that other shit, and very limited happiness.
Yeah.
And so they're going to carry that same sense of distrust with every relationship, and they're not going to have as strong of a sense of what makes them happy.
Right. And I feel like then they'll just grow up and then they'll be in similar situations or relationships that look like that and kind of misinterpret it as love since that's what they like grew up with.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just the example that is being set, you know, and then also like they're your parents. So you're growing up looking at them for guidance. So it's like if you see, you know, if there's like your mom's hitting your dad or your dad's hitting your mom, and they're like, but we love each other and we're together for you guys, then it's like your kid's going to grow up and think that that's normal as well. And kids pick up a lot more, you know, like you'll be arguing and you don't even think they're hearing you, but they're hearing everything. So it's like, not only are you two suffering, but now like your child that literally plays no part in this situation that you're having with your spouse is now having to go through it too. And then it's even more confusing because they don't know. And then also, like, do you think, let's just say, like, if you guys were like in high school or something and like your parents were arguing, like basically that same situation, like if you, like, let's just say like one of your parents cheated and like you seen like they're getting divorced and stuff, but they didn't tell you why, do you think that you would feel kind of like upset because you're left in the dark without knowing the truth?
Oh yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would probably want to know at least some details.
Like in like high school, like if your parents and like your dad, let's just say your dad cheated on your mom and they just didn't tell you, just to like, you know, like wouldn't that kind of like
but that's what I feel like. Honest. It depends on the age too.
Yeah. I think it's definitely on the age, especially with the maturity and like once you have like an idea of what like life, you know, it's definitely the age because being too young, you don't understand in the first place.
And also being kind of like high school, I feel like if you don't know, you also kind of feel like it's all your fault as well.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Because it's just like, oh well, they were arguing, but like maybe it was because of me or something.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the blank slate theory about how when kids growing up that they are, like when kids are first born, they're basically like a blank slate, and then their environment and who's around them kind of shapes them to who they are?
To an extent, yeah, absolutely. If a kid comes in pure as anything, they're going to absorb everything around their environment and respond to it. Mm-hmm. So if a kid grows up in a crazy environment, then they're going to have to develop a crazy shield to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. So now that, we also have to acknowledge the fact that some people have different brain chemistries and a lot of that stuff. Like some people could, like parents are fine, totally normal, but the kid will be born with schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. So some that we have to take into account. Like sometimes people are just born with different issues, but for the most part, kids in general absorb everything from their environment and they react and respond to it. So if you're in an environment where there's a lot of toxicity, a lot of abuse, then you're going to have to develop a shield to protect yourself from that kind of shit.
Yeah, so with that, is there like a way, like let's say I have kids, to pass down some trauma that I've went through?
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. One of the most common things that I've noticed is, say for example, in an abusive relationship where a husband is abusing the wife and they have a kid, the person who's being abused will then become abusive to the most vulnerable thing around them. And a lot of times it's the kid.
Mm-hmm. Damn. That's so true.
And they won't even know it. It'll be totally unconscious. It's not like they want to do it. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to go in and like, you know what? I feel like beating the shit out of my kids today. Nobody goes in like that. It's just some people, you see it in animals too. Where like, say it like we were talking about dogs. If you have a dog and you're messing with it, playing with it, and knowing that you're putting your power over it so that it's being vulnerable, at some point the dog's going to run away and run to a toy, grab it in its mouth and start doing that because it's looking for whatever's the most vulnerable thing that's not going to react to it and taking out the same aggression that was placed against them out on someone else.
Right.
It happens. It's not just animal nature, it's human nature.
Yeah. No, that's so true.
And you have to be like, it's really hard for the person who is being abused in a relationship to not turn around and be abusive to somebody else.
Sorry about that. The camera's died again, but we're at like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Damn.
And we want to thank you guys for both coming on this podcast. I think it was super, super good. I think it's like a lot of people could learn from this one. I don't know.
Sam squared.
Literally.
This is Sam squared. If you guys like them together, let us know in the comments. I think they're a really good duo.
Yes, thank you guys.
And any other recommendations, all of their stuff will be in the description once again. And thank you guys.
Thank you guys for checking this out.
I love you guys.
Make sure you guys subscribe too.
Yeah, subscribe, like, comment, do all that shit. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening.
200K by the end of the year, by the way.
That's the goal. And good night.
Peace.